Tonight, while Ghana's Attorney General is in Washington, D.C., meeting with officials at the U.S. Justice Department to bring back Ken Ofori-Atta home over corruption charges, a U.S. court has granted the former finance minister permanent residency.
So if it has nothing to do with what has happened, and so what? They should continue. They should continue with it. Nobody has stopped them from pursuing the extradition position. We haven't stopped them. I have said Kenneth Ofori-Atta to date has not been notified of any charge.
We'll hear from the Public Accounts Committee Vice Chair who wants government to fast-track a trial in absentia for Ken Ofori-Atta, arguing it would boost international confidence in the credibility of the charges.
The bit about waiting for Ken Ofori-Atta to come before he's prosecuted, I find it a bit problematic because we can trial him in absentia. Even in his absence, something can be done.
So does this green card ruling set back Ghana's bid to bring back Ken Ofori-Atta in this biggest corruption case that has rocked the country for months now? Well, some lawyers say yes. We'll interrogate the issue here on Top Story tonight. Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Fostina. Sarfo, please stay with me. Thanks for choosing us. Tonight, the legal tussle that is playing out between Ghana and the U.S. is taking center stage as Ghana's Attorney General is in the U.S. fighting to extradite the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta on corruption charges. But just yesterday, a U.S. court handed Ken Ofori-Atta permanent residency, while Ken Ofori-Atta's U.S. immigration status was adjusted after ICE detention in the States as far back as January, and he was alleged to have overstayed his welcome and his visa. His legal team had filed a petition for adjustment of status, and a U.S. court granted it during a hearing yesterday. The development raises questions, really, about the Office of the Special Prosecutor's effort to bring him back home to face corruption-related charges. The OSP, which is prosecuting Ken Ofori-Atta, in a court statement said that the extradition package is not before the immigration court. Well, the credibility or otherwise of the criminal charges is in question tonight on Top Story. My colleague Gemma Appiah joins me in the studio with details of a statement put out by the OSP earlier, just telling us what exactly their next line of action would be. Gemma, what else does the statement say?
So let me take you back to the statements released by Solicitor for Ken Ofori-Atta, Justice Kusi Menka-Premo, and in that statement, it said that the court finds the criminal charges in Ghana not credible. This particular statement talked about the credibility of the criminal charges in Ghana, and it continued to say, however, the court's ruling was made within the context of a U.S. immigration proceedings. And the OSP, in its statement, sought to address this particular statement made by Justice Menka-Premo. It said that the OSP states that it is not involved in immigration hearings in the U.S. involving Mr. Ofori-Atta. The OSP's involvement is in respect of extradition proceedings against Mr. Ofori-Atta through the Attorney General as the central authority. The OSP states that the extradition package is not before the immigration court, and the credibility or otherwise of the criminal charges against Mr. Ofori-Atta would be determined by the courts in Ghana, who have jurisdiction to determine his guilt or innocence. And it further stated that Mr. Ofori-Atta still remains a citizen of Ghana and he is still amenable to be extradited to Ghana if so decided by the extradition. So this is the response to the statement released by Justice Menka-Premo, the solicitor for Ken Ofori-Atta.
Thank you, Gemma. Well, responding to the criminal charges on that OSP statement, One of the lawyers for the former finance minister, Frank Davis, said Ken Ofori-Atta has not been formally notified about any criminal charges. Listen.
We should not be coy about these things. He refers to a certain law firm. He knows the firm which issued press release. So we should talk elegant language and let Ghanaians understand what is going on. This knee-jerk statements will not help. If they are saying that it has nothing to do with the extradition process, I am not about to engage in the fact that they should do what they have to do. The communication we put out was in respect of its adjustment immigration. We haven't spoken about extradition. If they are in the extradition, they should go ahead and do it. Why would talk that is what has gone on? This is the information for the general public. And I think we should abide. When comes the other aspect, we should bring it on and we'll talk to it. So yes, Kenneth has been a permanent resident status. And then that is where we are now.
Right. There are a lot of questions that have started coming up since this news broke earlier. And one of them is that, does this mean that Ken Ofori-Atta is not returning to Ghana to face accountability? His corruption case, as we all know, is still pending in court.
Eva.
This is Kenneth.
Kenneth, sorry. You have similar words too. I have spoken to your media outlet so many occasions, and I've said time without number that as of today, after the adjustment status application hearing yesterday to today, and when the OSP started all the noise about Kenneth, he has as yet. He started with declaring a fugitive from justice, red notice alert. They have all suffered, shameful dismissal from those who are supposed to determine whatever there is to be determined in accordance with law. Okay? I have said from the outset, and I reiterate, that as of today, Kenneth Nanaya Kuntun Kunuku Ofori-Atta has not been notified of any criminal charges pending against or in the Fiji Islands or the island of Mal or Solomon Island. He has not been informed in any way whatsoever. So if the Office of the Special Prosecutor is that serious, they should take steps to notify Kenneth Ofori-Atta of the charges. When he is notified, we will speak to the matters involved.
Right. You are a lawyer, so we need some clarity on this. You say that he's not been formally notified. What are the processes for him to be notified? Can he be notified through you, his legal representative?
Please speak to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. You read whatever they had also put out. And you made certain comments concerning that. Speak to the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
Okay.
I don't speak for them.
Okay.
I speak for Kenneth Ofori-Atta. So speak to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. They will be in a special position to tell you what they want to do.
Right.
I can only speak for Ken when the matters come.
Speaking of the OSP, though, the statement they released says that the grant of a green card does not nullify the extradition process. Do you agree with that position? And if so, why?
Speak to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. They issue the statement. So speak to them. And let them answer you.
This is a case also involving your client, and you are the one I'm speaking to this afternoon. That's why I'm asking you this question, Mr. Davis.
They should continue the extradition proceedings. Who has stopped them?
You had the lawyer Frank Davis speaking to my colleague Kenneth Gyasi on the polls on the Joy News channel. Well, we've been hearing from the Vice Chairman of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, Davis Ansah-Opoku. He's calling on government to expedite processes for the commencement of a trial in absentia against the former finance minister. Listen.
I'm here to hear about the reasoning behind it. But all I'll say is that even a foreigner, somebody who is not even of a Ghanaian descent, when he commits a crime in our land, the person is punishable by Ghanaian laws. And so the fact that somebody has gone for American citizenship or has gone for a green card doesn't mean that we cannot punish the person. If Ken Ofori-Atta has answers to answer, I think that he needs to avail himself to the authorities of state and answer it. I mean, we entrusted a very key institution in his hands. The Minister of Finance. And if the authorities feel that there are answers that ought to be given, I think that we all must avail ourselves to doing that. And so the bit about waiting for Ken Ofori-Atta to come before he is prosecuted, I find it a bit problematic, because we can trial him in absentia. Even in his absence, something can be done. And once I'm sure the American authorities also get to see evidence that is readily available for everybody to now verify on its own, they may also believe what the state is saying. So let the process start. If the state feels that there's something that Ken Ofori-Atta has to answer to, they need to start the process. And I'm sure that the authorities, just like they brought Sedina, will also do the same by bringing Ken Ofori-Atta to answer for his crimes.
Yo, Charlie, Telesurface broadband upgrade. Oh, you get up to 40% more data on the same old bundles. Best part, the bundles don't expire.
That's how we like it in the town.
Yeah, from on-cap speeds to fixed line calls and flexible data moves that allows you to move data up to 4 devices. Telecel offers an unmatched band for fixed broadband solutions for every need.
Telecel fixed broadband has got you.
For your home or business, experience the true broadband difference with up to 40% more data on Telecel fixed broadband at the same price. Move your non-expiry data to up to 4 devices. Get free fixed line calls and more tailored fixed broadband solutions for your home or business. Subscribe at www.telecel.com or download the Telecel Play app or visit a Telecel retail shop today.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining in my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me, I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me down my dark with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Dana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
His introduction raised eyebrows.
You are Josh Weissman?
Yes, I am. And he loved the life of crime.
And how did you come by such detailed insight of an armed robbery syndicate?
I am an armed robber.
Hey.
Roverman Productions, in partnership with National Theatre and Joy FM, presents an Uncle Wise play, Love and Handcuffs.
Mabel, remember the ovulation and action tonight.
Hey, David Fifi Dazi, you a wicked man. After bringing the police to shoot me, all you are thinking about is sex. Hey, I am going away. I'm going to my mother's house. Bye.
Shows on the 26th, 27th and 28th June and 3rd, 4th and 5th July at the National Theatre. Rate 300 CDs for single tickets, 500 CDs for couples and 225 for the loyalty cards. Tickets are available via the Rover Cover short code *365 *535#. Joy FM. Waka Now offices. Airport Shell. Tama Community 11 Shell. Dansoman Shell. And Bachona Total. Call 050-554-6010. Sponsors Koba, Waka Now, Apotheca, and M Notify. Roverman Productions. Be the difference.
Thanks for staying with us here on Top Story. Well, let's explore this further. Join me now is Amanda Clinton. She's a lawyer. She joins us on phone. And we also have lawyer Martin Pebu. He's also a private legal practitioner. We appreciate your time, lady and gentlemen. I'd like to start with Amanda Clinton, really. For the average Ghanaian, we're wondering, what does this approval of Ken Ofori-Atta's green card request mean for Ghana's decision to extradite him?
Thank you for having me on the show. Well, first and foremost, his green card does not create immunity. You know, even a U.S. citizen may be extradited where the relevant treaty permits. So it's going to strengthen his application in terms of his permanent resident status, may strengthen humanitarian, political persecution, or discretionary arguments, especially before the U.S. Secretary of State. But ultimately, the final decision to surrender him lies with the U.S. Secretary of State.
So in essence, it makes it harder really for Ghana to bring him back?
Harder, yes, but because his application will be strengthened by humanitarian, political persecution, those sort of arguments. But if even a U.S. passport holder can be extradited where the relevant treaty permits, then, he can likewise be extradited lawfully.
So I'm wondering, you've said that the green card does not provide immunity, but it can actually strengthen his legal argument in court. What should our Ghanaian counterparts and our lawyers in the U.S., we're told right now that the AGs in the U.S. seeking to ensure that they push for their case for the extradition of Ken Ofori-Atta, what should be our legal argument before a U.S. judge?
Well, I suppose making the distinction, because I was listening to your earlier discussions and someone saying that, the charges weren't credible charges, etc. So I guess it would be for Ghana to further establish, our sovereignty in terms of these are the sorts of charges that are similar in the U.S. in terms of it's a similar type offense, potentially. And if we have sovereignty, then it means that we can charge who we want. And they have done so. On the other hand, just because I think Ghana has gone beyond the extra mile, it also does look like a classic persecution case in terms of very few people can prove persecution because you need a lot of headlines, you need a lot of newspaper articles, print and otherwise. And the government has given him a wonderful defense, potentially, depending on how his lawyers skewer that evidence.
And I'm wondering, does asylum automatically defeat the extradition process?
In terms of his claim for asylum?
Yes, indeed.
Well, his asylum bid is kind of out now in terms of he's got this green card. So he has a legal basis to stay. But his arguments can still center around persecution. That, look, these aren't genuine charges. It was a change of government. They're looking, for a scapegoat to fulfill their oral mission. And these are the 500 plus articles that can prove it in terms of propaganda. You see what I mean? So depending on what side you're on, you can argue either case, but I do think he has a very strong case to mount a defense of, persecution just because of the level of headlines and print and online articles just, painting him a villain before he's actually been, fully processed.
Amanda, stay with me. Let me bring in lawyer Martin Pebo at this time. We're hearing from Amanda tell us that just to gain his green card, we are sure that Ken Ofori-Atta lawyers actually convinced the judge that there is need for his continuous stay in the U.S. So I'm wondering, at this stage, would those arguments create hurdles for Ghana in our quest to bring him back home?
Oh, yes, definitely. His health will be a key factor in the eventual decision to extradite him or not. So let's get this clear. In American law, right, even when the judge is done, let's say even when we win in a court of law, there's still the huge political element where the Secretary of State, that's their foreign minister, that's Okudjeto's counterpart, has a lot of discretion to use humanitarian grounds, etc., bad prison conditions, and many other factors to decide that no, he won't bring Ofori-Atta down. So there are two levels. It's not just the court. After the court is done, there's still room for a large political decision to be taken. So it means that presumably on paper, if it can be shown, even after the extradition proceedings, that, oh, his health doesn't permit, etc., it means that they could further delay it, at least. Even if they don't say they will never bring him down, they could further delay it, looking at his health condition, etc. That's if it is proven. And of course, at that stage, and just like we are doing now, we'll be asking for more accountability from the American government. We'll be asking for more transparency. So it's not just that somebody will come up with a document and say, Ofori-Atta is not well. Just like a small biopsy was made to look like some complex surgery some months ago, right? So now we are wiser because you talk to the doctors and they are like, what? A biopsy, a small biopsy was being made, cooked to look like some complex surgery, etc. So we have our eyes wide open. And so though the US retains a political discretion to bring him or not to bring him, we're also believing that the fact that more Ghanaians are participating in the system, when you go on social media, you see how citizens are saying Abu Trika and Daniel Yusuf should not be extradited until Ofori-Atta has been brought down, etc. So we too will be, this will serve as a counter check. This will be countervailing forces here in Ghana, that we are also wiser now. If you don't bring down Ofori-Atta, our citizens will also not be extradited to the US. And then we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
And I'm wondering, moving forward, how can we ensure that we make the job easier for ourselves, especially knowing fully well that, looking at the facts currently in the public domain, should we expect like a lengthy legal battle, or would it be an easy walk in the park for Ghana?
Oh, obviously a lengthy and very complex legal battle. A complex one, except, like we've been saying from day one, except Akufo-Addo and the MPP step in and say, look, they want Ofori-Atta to come down to face accountability because that would help increase their electoral fortunes. Yes, so that could be the path to stop this complex journey. Otherwise, if you leave out MPP and Akufo-Addo being able to bring down Ofori-Atta, it's going to be a very complex, bloody battle. And that's why it's already showing, because with the green card, now he has far more protection than previously. And let's not forget, let's keep repeating, Ofori-Atta has John Ashcroft for a lawyer. John Ashcroft is one of Trump's supporters, one of the early people to throw their weight behind Trump, right? So he's reaping, and he's a registered lobbyist. When we say somebody is a lobbyist in America, he's a fixer. So his job is you pay him, and then he goes to convince government to give you this, give you X, Y, Z. In certain terms, loosely, some would tell you that the things here we would call corruption. In America, they have a nice name for calling it. Lobbyists do that. The things you call here
Amanda
corruption.
Is laughing. I'll
in
come
America,
to you.
It's true.
Yes, in America, they'll call it lobbying. So I'm saying that he has a strong lobbyist in the name of John Ashcroft, who is also a lawyer. He was previous Attorney General. So the battle is a very complex and difficult one. It's not a joke. And that's how come I keep saying every time that Kisie Jabin has brought this onto us. He had the opportunity to arrest
Okay, Martin, I'm just
but
wondering.
he chose to look away and came telling us lies. And now look at the
Martin,
huge fortune.
I'm wondering, so we heard from the Vice Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee earlier, and he wanted government to expedite processes, especially for the commencement of a trial in absentia against the former finance minister. I want to get your legal thoughts. Now that the OSP is already in court, and that concern about if indeed he has prosecutorial powers, can even be tried in absentia? Martin?
Yes, so on paper, yes, he can be tried in absentia. Yes. Okay. I'm saying yes. Hello?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Me?
Loud and clear now.
Yes, I said yes. Yes. Yes, under the law, Ofori-Atta can be tried in absentia. You look at it there, Article 19, Clause 3. It said there, once they are able to bring the charges to his notice on paper. So that is after the Supreme Court has sorted out the issue of the prosecutorial powers of the OSP. As for the power, it exists. It's about how the power should be exercised. So the Supreme Court will sanitize it, and then the prosecutions will continue, right? Yes.
I see.
Can you
Okay,
hear
I
me?
still have with me Amanda Clinton. We've heard from Martin Pebu. He says realistically we should expect a lengthy legal battle. You agree?
Absolutely. Definitely. I think it's going to be a very lengthy battle.
Tell me why.
Just because of the elements at stake. You know, on the one hand, you've got this potential defendant that is high profile because he's politically exposed. You know, he was a foreign finance minister. It seems like the government is hanging its entire oral mission, you know, on getting Ken back. And on the other hand, he could just say that he's being persecuted. He has over 500 articles online and in print to show the level of propaganda, even on paper, and that this is just a witch hunt. You know what I mean? So it's all going to lie on what the Secretary of State ultimately decides, because the final decision to surrender him lies with the U.S. Secretary of State, and this is very political. And high-level discussions will be going on between our AG and the Secretary of State right now. And Ghana will be using some negotiation tactics like, you know, it's very unlikely that we're going to extradite anybody to the U.S. until he comes back. And that is why we probably had a recent arrest in, I think, Morocco for U.S. extradition, you know, because maybe it couldn't have been done if the request had been made here.
Okay.
So you know what I mean? So it's very, very political, very high stakes. Both sides have a lot of money to throw at this.
Okay.
And as my learned colleague said, you know, a lobbyist is involved who is, you know, in touch with, you know, the Republicans. So who knows?
Thank you, Amanda. I have with me Sami Darko. He's Director of Communications, Research and Strategy at the OSP. Sami, we appreciate your time here on Top Story. We've heard from one of the legal team members of Ken Ofori-Atta. He says that you have not officially charged him. Oh dear, we seem to have lost Sami Darko. Let's reconnect our lines and speak to Sami Darko. He speaks for the OSP. He's Director of Communication, Research and Strategy at the OSP. Sami Darko, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. So I was wondering, Ken's lawyer, Frank Davis, says his office, his client, has not been formally notified about any criminal charges against him. How do you respond to that?
I'm going to go there, but this is not a subject you need to even put to us, because you are media and you follow proceedings. And you
Sami, I asked you a direct
question.
Sami, I don't have the luxury of time. I asked you a direct question. Have you formally notified Ken Ofori-Atta or his lawyers about any criminal charge against him?
This is something as a media person, you must have knowledge of it, because the case before the High Court, if you have followed the proceedings, you notice that the High Court has approved service of the charges on Mr. Ofori-Atta in U.S. In law, when someone is outside the jurisdiction, you need to
approving a service of charge
procedure.
and being charged, you agree with me, is different. I want to know, has he formally received the notification of criminal charges against him?
So when a person is charged and it's not within the jurisdiction, you need to go through a formal process by which the person will be served. Now, this has to do with extradition. So when the court approves it, the OSP will need to now formally go through the Attorney General. Attorney General will go through the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice will then serve it on Ken Ofori-Atta. As we speak now, Department of Justice has not gotten back to Ghana that it has served Ken Ofori-Atta, because it is still working on the extradition processes. And that brings another matter. The reason why I wanted to clarify is that if you notice the statement issued by lawyers for Ken Ofori-Atta, they have said that the immigration judge had said the charges were not credible. And that is where the media needs to put them on the spotlight. How can an immigration judge who does not have copies or has not even cited an extradition packet make a determination on the credibility of the packet. Not even an immigration judge in the U.S. has cited the extradition packet as I speak to you, because the Department of Justice has not placed the packet before any court as we speak. So these are some of the propaganda and the lies we think that it needs to be exposed, because this whole issue has been turned into a propaganda matter. But this is a trial by an independent body of a citizen that is alleged to have committed an offense. So if you come and you tell Ghanaians the judge has said it's not credible, when the judge has not even seen it before, you yourself acknowledged and said that when the judge granted him bail and that thing was fixed on his leg, I've forgotten the legal term for it, you said that one of the reasons why the judge granted him bail was that the judge has said he had not spotted the extradition packet. And the U.S. have said that these extradition packets are not given to an immigration judge. That's to go before an extradition court, right? And also, there's been talk about how long will it take, how long will it take. Let's put it in perspective. Extradition in U.S. takes not less than 2 years, and between 2 and 5 years. I think that when this whole matter started, we had put it out in the public domain about expectations. Extradition does not happen quickly like the way it happens in Ghana. If Ghana is able to do it in 6 months, as far as the U.S. are concerned, they have a tall list of processes they go through before it is finally sent to the Secretary of State. So when you're also speaking to the audience, you must let them know the expectation. Extradition in the U.S. takes between 2 to 5 years.
There are calls for him to be tried in absentia. Is it something the OSP is considering?
The OSP has already started the trial. Trial in absentia, again, we have explained this over and over, but I'll go through again. So under Ghanaian law, we can, he and about 10 others have been charged, and the trial has started before the High Court. But because he is not in Ghana, trial in absentia will start when the service on him is completed and he has become aware of the charges against him, and he neglects not to come down or he neglects to respond to the former charges against him. The moment that hurdle is crossed, trial in absentia just starts. So let's put it on record, because I heard some MP and others say, trial has not started. Trial has started in respect of the case the OSP is investigating. And also, let me also clarify that OSP currently has only one case against Ofori-Atta, which has to do with the Strategic Mobilization Limited case. The trial has started, but trial in absentia can only begin when he now has confirmed receipt of the charges in the U.S., and that is to be done by the Department of Justice on him. And then the Department of Justice relays back to us. The court has a duration within which, if he does not come to answer to the charges, then the court will go ahead and try him in absentia. Compare that to that of Sedina. You realize that all her pleas had been taken and so many things had gone on. So the moment she was no longer in the jurisdiction, the court could go ahead. This is what we have been explaining to people, because people will just say, why don't you try in absentia? Try in absentia goes through a process, and that process has already been done by the OSP. The rest is with the Department of Justice. And also, we in Ghana also assisting just in case they need further clarification or further information and all that. So to be honest with you, there's no issue. In fact, one of the main reasons why OSP had to issue a statement was to clarify that there is no extradition packet before an immigration judge, and it is never true that an immigration judge can make pronouncement on an extradition matter. That is plain falsehood and propaganda.
Thank you so much, Sami Dago. That's how we wrap up Top Story. My name is Fostina Sarfo. We've been also engaged in lawyer Martin Pebu and Amanda Clayton. Over to you, Ken.
And coming up on News 9, more trouble for the Bole Senior High School teacher at the center of a sex scandal as the National Council of Parent Association demands his prosecution, dismissal from the Ghana Education Service, and the withdrawal of his teaching license, describing the incident as a criminal act.
The Bole SHS teacher-student sexual allegation clearly is a criminal act, and we demand prosecution, dismissal, NTC license withdrawal, and immediate GES sexual harassment guidelines rollout to protect our students.
We have more details as the Ghana Education Service runs to the police after the teacher disappears from Bole.
Ghana Education Service, we condemn the video, the exercise, the activity in all certain terms. It is disgraceful, it is distasteful to the service.
Also tonight, Ghana waits as a Canadian court reserves judgment on Thomas Partey's visa case after hours of legal arguments, with the judge expected to rule later on whether Canada was right to deny the Black Stars deputy captain entry over his ongoing UK court case ahead of Ghana's World Cup opener against Panama.
Also ahead, Health Minister Kwabena Kanda breaks silence on suspension of Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital CEO as the minister insists that the CEO admitted wrongdoing and he did not need Parliament approval to sanction him.
Nobody has the right to close any portion of a health facility without the consent of the health minister. So the decision of the minister is not subject to the review of the board. It is the decisions of the board that is subject to the review of the minister.
In business,
fuel prices could hit below 10 Ghana cedis per litre if current conditions are sustained.
And a bit later, we have more details from the fierce debate from Parliament, where the minority is also demanding urgent government action to secure the state broadcaster GBC's lands from encroachment.
We even know that part of GBC's land was used by GRA to build the new headquarters that Ministry of Finance has taken over. That protecting the assets of GBC is part of his mandate.
The latest of these and many other stories are coming up in the next 60 minutes. Feel free to be a part of the show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Details shortly. Good evening. Criminal act, not misconduct. That's how parents are describing the Bole Senior High School sex scandal. They're demanding the teacher be prosecuted, dismissed from the Ghana Education Service, and have his license withdrawn. The call comes as the GES confirms the teacher has been interdicted and the case referred to the police following the circulation of a viral video allegedly showing him engaged in sexual activity with a final year student inside a school laboratory. Sources tell Joy News that teacher has since left Bole and his whereabouts remain unknown. My colleague Michael Ashali is joining us in the studio with details of what we know so far. Michael, so what do we know about the teacher and the circumstances surrounding the incident?
So, Kenneth, sources tell Joy News that the teacher is an integrated science tutor who will also assist with chemistry lessons, and the incident is alleged to have taken place inside the school's chemistry laboratory. The video, which has since gone viral, appears to show the teacher and the student engaged in intimate conduct. We are told the footage was recorded by another individual from outside the laboratory and later circulated on social media. Sources further indicated the student sat for a biology paper in the ongoing WASI today. We also informed that the teacher has left Bole since the incident became public, while school authorities have declined to disclose the student's exact age. They confirm only that she is a teenager.
And the Ghana Education Service has also condemned the incident, interdicted the teacher, and referred the matter to the Ghana Police Service for further investigations. But the National Council of Parent Associations says disciplinary action alone is not enough. Michael Ashale is still with me in the studio with details of the council's demands. Michael, what is the position of the Parent Association and what are their demands?
So, for context, the Parent Association says that issues of teacher sexual harassment of students have been with us since time immemorial. This unfortunate incident is not as an isolated one as many people make it seem. It is contributing to growing levels of indiscipline in our schools, eroding trust between students, parents, and teachers, and undermining the moral authority of the teaching profession. The council therefore urges all stakeholders, especially teachers and teacher unions, to purge themselves from these gross acts of misconduct. Such behavior is a dent on the professional integrity and dishonors the noble calling of teaching. To their demands, one, they are calling for full legal action. They are urging DOPSO and the Ghana Police Service to collaborate with the student, her parents, and the Attorney General's office to pursue appropriate legal remedy and ensure the offender faces prosecution in accordance with the law. That's not all. They are asking for administrative sanctions as well. Beyond interdiction, GES Council must complete the disciplinary processes where guilt is established, recommend dismissal and referral to the National Teaching Council to withdraw the teacher's license. Also, immediate implementation of the GES sexual harassment guidelines. They say that this must include mandatory orientation for all staff, parents, and students with clear reporting procedure and strict enforcement without exception. Kenneth.
Thank you very much, Michael. Gemma, we have somebody on the line. Who do we have?
Kofi Raphael is the General Secretary of the National Council for the National PTA. Welcome to News 9. First, as parents, what went through your mind when you saw that video that has since gone viral?
Thank you very much. What went through our mind was growing levels of trauma, pain, agony, and then fear for the unknown that has been happening and has gone unreported.
You're saying this has been happening but have gone unreported. Do you have any reasons to suggest so?
We've been in this space for a long time. We've been parents. And I can tell on authority that this is not the first incident. This is not the second incident. There have been growing reports of such kind of incidents happening over the space. Some have been reported, but those who have been reported are the ones that come into the limelight for discussion. Those that have gone on unreported but has become gossips within the school community space is something that we cannot cross our eyes and our ears over them again.
That's quite sad to hear, but the blame, some are saying, should equally fall on parents like yourselves, because usually when such things happen, parents are the last persons to find out, and people have questioned the sort of relationships that parents have with the awards being the reason why they are the last to find out. So now you are saying that this has been going on for a long time. Do you think that the responsibility should equally fall on parents, who are the first point of call?
Development in education is a shared responsibility, and all stakeholders within the space, including parents, we have a role to play. But when it comes to vicarious liabilities, when it comes to the duty of care, when it comes to locus parentis within the school space, when we take our children to the schools and we hand them over to the school authorities, especially teachers, who are seen as role models, who are supposed to know better, who are supposed to even understand that even if the children or our students, our wards, give consent to some of these things, it's just like, excuse my language, you are passing and somebody, whether out of carelessness or out of the unknown, misplaces or leaves a very important item of his, and you come and perchance comes to see it. you don't pick it, and when they arrest you, you say that we should also blame the person who carelessly left the thing there. In fact, per the code of conduct for staff of the Ghana Education Service, it states clearly within that particular administrative fiat and policy, which was signed with consent agreement of the teacher unions, that whether the child gives consent or not, whether the child is of age or not, as far as he's a student under you at the pre-tertiary level, there is no amount of justification that can say that. What
as parents, what are you expecting to happen after this incident has been made known?
Hello?
Hello, Mr.
Yes.
Gabson, I'm asking what you're expecting to happen now.
What I'm expecting to happen is clearly stated in our position and recommendations on the way forward. First of all, we've made it clear that to preserve professional standards and protect all learners, the NCPTA is calling for full legal action. We urge the DOFSU of the Ghana Police Service to collaborate with the students, their parents, and the Attorney General's office to pursue appropriate legal remedy and ensure that the offender, that is in this case, teacher Razak Arafat, faces prosecution in accordance with law. We are not saying that because this has happened, maybe the law should also be taken to his own hands by the other aspect and abuse the teacher's rights. No, he has rights that we should protect, but we should also make sure that he is held accountable for his unlawful and unprofessional conduct. We are also calling for, beyond the interdiction, of which we commend the Ghana Education Service, we are calling on the Ghana Education Service and the Ghana Education Service Council, which is the highest administrative disciplinary body, to make sure that they complete the disciplinary procedures, and where guilt is established on the part of the teacher, we recommend his dismissal and referral to the National Teaching Council to withdraw the license of the teacher. This, we believe, will send a strong signal that such conduct has no space in our educational system. We are also calling for the immediate implementation of the GES sexual harassment guidelines. That guideline that we saw some few years ago, that we don't know why it has not been fully implemented, of which we even wish to use this medium to call on the Ghana Education Service that it's a public document. And we as National Council of PTAs and representative of the parents in Ghana, we need to look at it and also make our inputs and concurrently all sign onto it and support it to work. So we are recommending that there should be an immediate nationwide implementation of the GS sexual harassment policy and guidelines in all pre-tertiary schools, not only at the secondary schools, at the basic school, at the junior high school, at the secondary technical vocational institutions. This must include mandatory orientation for all staff, parents, and students.
Well, thank you very much. Gapsin Kofi Raphael is the General Secretary of the National Council for PTA.
We've also been hearing from the Ghana Education Service through its spokesperson, Daniel Fenyi, who says that the GES is investigating the matter.
Ghana Education Service, we condemn the video, the exercise, the activity in all certain terms. It is disgraceful, it is distasteful to the service, it is a dent on the integrity on the Ghana Education Service and the teaching fraternity. There are a lot of very disciplined teachers in the system. There are a lot of teachers who are noble in the system. And these outliers, these people, come in to destroy and tarnish the image of the entire teaching profession.
Right. Okay.
We do not take it lightly at all. So we have launched investigations into the video and, for that matter, the misconduct. Even as we wait for the outcome of the investigations, we believe the teacher should step aside, because we don't know what his presence in the school and what his associations with some of the students and the school environment might have on the investigation processes.
Have you reported the matter to the police?
Indeed, it has been reported, and of course, even beyond the police, as Ghana Education Service, we are undertaking this exercise, of course, within our rules and regulations, and of course, the security agencies. We work very closely with them in matters of such nature.
That is Daniel Fenye. He speaks for the Ghana Education Service.
The fate of Ghana midfielder and deputy captain Thomas Partey remains unresolved after a court in Canada adjourned proceedings without delivering a ruling on Ghana's challenge to his visa refusal, leaving the nation in suspense ahead of the World Cup opener. The hearing, which centers on Canada's decision to deny entry clearance to the Ghana International, ended this afternoon at 2:15 GMT, with Judge rising to evaluate arguments presented by the legal representatives of the GFA and Canadian immigration authorities. It's expected to provide a ruling. At the heart of the dispute is whether the visa refusal linked to concerns surrounding Partey's ongoing legal case in the UK and whether it was justified under immigration law. My colleague Collins Frimpong joins me in studio with key details from the proceedings. Collins, run us through what happened in court today.
So, Gemma, the case was held before Judge Lafreniere, with Makinda Brownwell leading Partey's legal team, and the Canadian Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration represented by David Knapp. At the heart of Partey's lawyer, at the start, Partey's lawyers tried to introduce a late amended application, but the court rejected it, agreeing with the Canadian side that it came too late and did not change the substance of the case. On the main argument, Partey's team said the visa refusal was unfair and flawed, stressing that his legal issues are in the UK. He is not a flight risk and he has already pleaded not guilty. They also argued Canadian officials failed to properly assess his full application. Canada, however, argued that Partey did not disclose pending criminal charges in his visa form, which they say justified the refusal. His lawyers responded saying the form wasn't filled by Partey himself and may have been filled by someone else. But the judge noted that his signature still made him responsible for the content. They also argued missing the World Cup would cause irreparable harm. But the court pointed out that he has already played a previous World Cup, weakening that claim.
Well, we wait for that judgment, but let's turn our attention to the proper game. In about 24 hours, the Black Stars of Ghana, with or without Thomas Partey, will face Panama in the FIFA World Cup. Ahead of the game, we spoke to some Ghanaians about the expectations for the tournament and the team's chances.
Everybody expects nothing but the best. We are wishing Ghana the very best, and then we want the Black Stars to also win the cup. It's been a while, right? So that's my expectation. I want them to win it. I want them to score more goals, and then to win the cup to Ghana.
We Ghanaians seeing our brothers on the field performing massively will be our great excitement. So we are expecting this massive winning from them as a Ghanaian, and we will also be happy because this is what our prayer is that Ghana should bring the cup home. So
I expect a win for Ghana tomorrow because this is our business, you understand. So when Black Stars scores tomorrow or when they win, our business will also boom. You understand? So we expect a win, no doubt. Yeah, thank you.
I'm here getting a new jersey because of tomorrow's match, and then we're expecting them to have a big win, nothing but win. That's what we are looking forward to have from them.
Well, Collins is still here. Collins, there are games coming up tonight.
Yes, but before, Tunisia has appointed French coach Hervé Renard as the new head coach for the national team following the dismissal of Sabri Lamochi after the country's 5-1 defeat to Sweden. Renard has won the Africa Cup of Nations twice and also managed Saudi Arabia at the 2024 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. And tonight at 7 p.m. on Joy Prime, we are going to have France facing Senegal at MetLife Stadium. and build-up is already ongoing. And at 10 p.m., we are having Iraq playing Norway. At 1 a.m., Leo Messi is expected to lead reigning champions Argentina after recovering from a minor injury, and they are facing one of African representatives, Algeria, at the Kansas City Arrowhead Stadium. Then finally, Austria plays Jordan at 4 a.m.
4 a.m. Right. Thank you very much, Collins, with those updates from the FIFA World Cup.
Iraq versus Norway. That should be interesting. Let's do business. George is here with the latest. George?
Well, coming up in business, we'll be giving you more details on fuel prices. Could be reaching 10 Ghana cedis per litre. If current conditions are sustained, we'll be hearing from the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, and Bank of Ghana urges commercial banks to support agriculture and provide some critical sectors of the economy with the needed funding in terms of going on. My name is George Jaffe. Let's now settle for the details. Now, fuel prices could hit below 10 Ghana cedis very soon at the pumps. However, this will be dependent on the current external conditions being sustained as well as domestic developments. Fuel prices are currently being sold at around 13 Ghana cedis. Let's hear from the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwa.
The caveat here would be if government sustains the local crude refining intervention, you may get to a point where you are cutting off a lot of logistics and premiums that is invariably passed on to the consumer. So if government sustains Central Refinery with the local crude that we've sent, if we are able to get TOR to also invest properly and be able to refine and deliver products locally, you should be getting to a point where we can also anticipate a 10 Ghana. But don't forget that the unspoken rule along the line has almost always been 1 liter to $1. And so where the dollar usually converges, you would find that a liter would hover around that. So if the managers of the economy decide that at some point the cedi should be strengthened further to get to 10 Ghana exchange to $1, it's possible.
Duncan Amwa is the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. Now, developments in the Middle East in terms of the opening of Strait of Hormuz and declining crude prices could mark a major turning point for the Ghanaian economy. Now, that will come in the form of consolidating, that is, the recent economic gains and helping managers deal with the projected threats. Let's hear from the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Johnson Isioma, indicating that they could return to cutting policy rate depending on developments in the Middle East favoring Ghana.
It turns out that the crisis is going to be persistent. And if it turns out that we have to brace ourselves for full adjustment, then certainly the outlook could be impacted. But from where we sit currently, it's unfolding in line with our projections.
What does that mean for the rate hiking or easing cycle? Do we continue to see rates on hold until things really pan out in the Middle East?
Well, that will be based on the assessment of the committee as a whole. As you are aware, our framework decisions are based on the majority, majority opinion, on the panel, the 7-member panel, So it's not just my decision. It's based on what majority of the members of the MPC see. But based on the staff analysis, etc., based on our data, I think that, yes, there could be scope for a return to the easing cycle.
In 2026?
But it's all contingent, largely to this global shock and how it continues to unfold.
Let's hear from the government statistician, Dr. Hassan Idris, who also in an earlier interview indicated that inflation could be coming down because of some good harvest season.
We're headed into the main harvest season, and historically in Ghana, that brings prices down, as we all know, particularly for food crops. So as the main, harvest reaches market across more of the country, in fact, we expect this downward trend pressure on food prices.
And that is government statistician Dr. Al-Hassan Idris. Now, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isioma, has entreated...
The industry must increasingly turn its attention to
but that's
a fundamental role of financial intermediation and support.
Apologize for that mix-up over there. And the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has entreated commercial banks to increase support for some critical sectors of the economy, like the agricultural sector. Now, speaking in a meeting with managing directors and chief executives of commercial, Dr. Isiama actually said that the long-term sustainability of Ghana's financial system depends on the strength and growth of the real sector.
Must increasingly turn its attention to its fundamental role of financial intermediation and support for productive economic activity. The long-term sustainability of our financial system ultimately depends on the strength of the real sector. A vibrant manufacturing sector, a competitive agriculture, efficient services sector, and thriving export-oriented businesses. These are essential. They are essential for generating sustainable credit demand, quality asset, employment, and economic prosperity.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama. Now, Italy and Ghana are strengthening cooperation in the circular economy space as both countries seek to transform waste into economic opportunities through the transfer of technology. Now, speaking in an interview, the Italian ambassador to Ghana, Laurent Relani, says that the Ghana-Italian Circular Dialogue is working on building some sustainable partnership for the green sector of the economy.
Ghana is part of our Mattei Plan for Africa. Is a strategic plan launched by the Italian government, and it aims at creating partnership, private-public on one side and government-to-government on another side. So for us, Ghana is very important, and in this framework also the dialogue on circular economy takes place. The dialogue was organized by UNIDO, which is our partner in implementing a project on circular economy in the framework of the Mattei Plan, as I mentioned. I'm very glad to be here today. I think it's only the start of a long cooperation and collaboration on this subject.
Laura Relani is the Italian ambassador to Ghana. Before we go to register, the Registrar of Company has hinted of some 2,000 Ghana cedis fine for companies over failure to file their annual returns by the end of this month. Now, this charge will affect companies that have failed to do this over the past 5 years. And that's all for Business on Newsnight. Back to you, Kenneth and Gemma, as we look forward to tomorrow's game against Panama.
That'll
It's
be
interesting to read social. Well, someone is also saying that, already they've told their kids to come to school with black stars jersey. Their children, interesting development here.
Yeah, we wish the stars all the best. That'll be around 11 p.m. Will you be up watching?
Definitely.
Oh, okay. I don't know where I will be, but let's see.
You'll be home. Okay. Well, Health Minister Kwabena Minta-Kando has finally broken silence on the suspension of Chief Executive Officer of the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital, Dr. Kwesi Beidou, insisting that the CEO's action violated an executive directive. The health minister came under criticism for suspending the CEO for closing down the Accident and Emergency Center of Kath, with doctors going on strike to protest the suspension. The matter was raised on the floor of Parliament by Minority Leader Alexander Pengomarking, who demanded an official statement from the minister.
Interviews in the media without recourse to the House. We see letters by the minister taking action against some chief executives. Mr. Speaker, given the fact that the minister himself held his predecessor to high-level accountability, I remember he was the ranking member on health and was very, very vociferous. Mr. Speaker, what he did then was good for democracy. I agree. But, Mr. Speaker, once our colleague has risen to that high office, and especially when he is a member of this House, our expectation is he utilizes the platform of Parliament for us to understand what is happening in his sector. Mr. Speaker, it is very concerning.
Let's go to the phone line and speak to my colleague James Aveji, who was in Parliament for us. James, the health minister, responded. What did he say?
Well, Gemma, the health minister indicated that before he came out with the suspension of the CEO, he had earlier engaged him on the action he took, and the CEO admitted wrongdoing
to him in responding to the call for him to come and officially brief Parliament. He said he is not under any obligation to do that, nor does he need any approval from Parliament in order to go ahead with that particular sanction.
His Excellency the President issued a policy direction in the health sector that no facility should turn away emergency cases. And His Excellency added that even if the life of the person must be saved on the ground, we should do so. That was a policy direction. And when the President speaks, it's a policy that the minister must implement. Mr. Speaker, let me put on record that nobody, absolutely nobody in this country has the right to close any portion of a public health facility without the consent of the state, in this case, the minister. Nobody has the right to close any portion of a health facility.
James, what's the current state of the suspension as we speak?
Well, Gemma, from what the minister issued, the CEO suspension, he is on suspension for 2 weeks. That suspension started on the 5th of June. And so it is expected that by Friday, the 19th of June, that should expire for him to resume work.
This was not the only matter of interest to the minority. What else are they demanding?
Well, the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, also demanded urgent government action in order to protect the lands of the state broadcaster, the GBC, which he said is under some encroachment, including the takeover of part of it by the GRA to build the new Finance Ministry office. The Minister for Government Communication, Felix Kwasi, indicates that that particular portion that was taken by the GRA, the institution failed to compensate the state broadcaster for it, and so he's pursuing that and other actions in order to safeguard the land.
We even know that part of GBC's land was used by GRA to build the new headquarters that Ministry of Finance has taken over. That protecting the assets of GBC is part of his mandate.
Speaker, before I assumed office, the previous government had taken some steps to take portions of the land belonging to GBC, specifically the land to the north of the Jubilee House. The GRA, without any formal processes, by word of mouth, had acquired about 5 acres of land belonging to Ghana Broadcasting Corporation without making payments. Eventually, the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta took over that land to build a head office for the Finance Ministry. Mr. Speaker, I continue to pursue the Finance Ministry for payments. But in order that the lands belonging to GBC are protected, Mr. Speaker, I will soon go before Parliament and table a retooling and recapitalization plan before Cabinet.
That's the government spokesperson Felix Kwasi Ofosu there. Away from Parliament, the Ghana Cocoa Board has admitted owing licensed cocoa buying companies nearly 6 billion cedis and promises payment by month's end. Cocoa Board has already paid off 4 billion cedis out of the 10 billion initially owed. But for thousands of cocoa farmers already crushed by debt, rising costs and dwindling incomes, that assurance may have come too late. Across cocoa growing communities, farmers say they are struggling to survive, unable to repay loans, maintain their farms or provide for their families as delayed payments ripple through the sector. Listen to Nanedu II, who is the lead member of the Ghana Cocoa Farmers Association.
Are farmers so old?
Please, some farmers have not been paid since December. Last year, meanwhile, Cocoa Board are paying regular.
Some farmers have still not been paid.
Yes, they've not been paid since December.
Because
we should focus on cocoa as a business. I'm not interested in politics at all. I'm a business person. Cocoa is a business, and if we treat it as a business, it will treat us well. Otherwise, this freeloading by politicians that has been going on forever. And let me again explain something. There is nothing free in cocoa. It is our 30% that you people take, and you buy fertilizer, you give yourself political contracts, etc. You are riding on the back of the farmer, so stop it. If we were to survive in this industry as a country properly, we have to review our approach to cocoa.
Well, Cocoa Board is promising to offset the amounts by the end of the month. Jerome Sam is head of public affairs at Cocoa Board.
As we speak, I just had a meeting with my boss as well as the MD for Cocoa Marketing Company, and I can tell you that whatever outstanding that we owed the cocoa farmer, Cocoa Board has the funds to do what? To pay.
The last time the figure was 10 billion. How much is it now?
No, so as at now, we have almost about 6 billion. So that should tell you that we've paid over 4 billion. Okay. And I'm telling you on an authority that before the end of this month, if all farmers or all LBCs who are owed are not paid, I'm sure it will be left with an insignificant amount to be what?
Okay. That's a very important clarity. You say two things. One, that you have paid at around about 4 billion, so you still owe the LBCs 6 billion. You're also assuring that before the end of this month, you expect that Cocoa Board would have cleared the rest of the 6 billion.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That even if all having been cleared, it will be left with an insignificant amount to be dealt with.
Enrollment at Pualarido DA Basic School in the Tatale Sanguli district has almost doubled after a new 6-unit classroom block replaced the dilapidated mat structure where pupils once learned. The transformation followed a Joy News report that drew attention to the school's poor learning conditions. But as the community celebrates the gains, school leaders say enrollment onto the school feeding program will be key to sustaining the progress. Emmanuel Jivenu has more in episode 3 of Crumbling Start Season 2.
It has improved because at first we're having about...
Every morning, pupils of Pualado DA Basic School in the Tatale Sangole district gather for assembly in front of their new classroom block.
Great. Good morning, teachers. Good morning, friends. We are the best of your company.
Moments later, they file into classrooms that have transformed their learning experience. Spacious rooms with adequate desks.
The old place, actually, it was too bad because if you see the pavilion there, it was not floored. It was too bad for we the teachers and the students.
For nearly a decade, head teacher Samson Manchin watched children learn in these conditions. Today, he says the most visible change is not only the new classroom block.
It has really helped because the enrollment has improved. At first, we're having about 137 children, but now that we move into the new building, we have about 268 children or learners, which shows that the attendance have improved because of the new environment we are now living in. If I add them, that will be what? 9. Please, if you know, you raise up your hand. The assessment is there. If you are not teaching, the way children will be expressing themselves, this shows that the old thing and the new thing is not the same.
My brother, what is this? Snake, clap for him.
Teacher Joseph Tanga says the improved environment is helping pupils engage more actively during lessons.
When they commissioned this place and then we came here, the children also say, hey, this school will also enter the school there and learn new things.
The new classroom block was constructed after concerns about conditions at the school were highlighted through Joy News' Crumbling Start series. But while the classrooms have changed, some challenges remain.
It's good like if we have feeding program for the school, it will help.
For now, the children of Balado are learning in an environment that encourages them to come to school. And for a community that waited years for a proper place to learn, that change is already being reflected in the growing number of children filling these classrooms every day. Emmanuel Jivenu, Joy News, Tatale Sanguli District, Northern Region.
Let's clap for ourselves.
Well, due to the upcoming World Cup game between Senegal and France, we have to close the news early. But before we go, here are a few of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp platform. Musa Abatua in Aswasi says, if this kind of legal maneuvering by Ken Ofori-Atta is allowed to persist, it risks setting a dangerous precedent and could encourage others to use similar tactics to escape justice. And this one, without a name, says, my greatest worry is that the Ghanaian workers whose tier 1 and 2 are locked up in the Ofori-Atta's data bank must be careful, and they will wake up one day to hear that all their hard-earned monies have been repatriated to America. David McLean from Binduri says, I think the Republic should stop spending on the extradition process of Ken Ofori-Atta. Samuel Amenakpo from Akachi says, it is embarrassing and condescending the way some teachers have reduced the noble profession to an ordinary job on the street. Hence these sex scandalous acts. Nana from Springtech says, why on earth are we expecting Canada to ban their immigration rules to allow the Ghanaian player enter their country? Nana Ikuyamwa Boatin from Ablekuma Central says, the U.S. legal system and its protection of human rights are second to none. Its verdict on Ken Ofori-Atta and the subsequent granting of a green card to him are clear indications that the laws are working there. Lamine Matim from WA says, what shall it benefit a teacher to have sexual relations with his or her student? I think both the teacher and student should be punished. That's it for News Night this evening. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Don't forget to do the two this evening. Brush your teeth day and night with Pepsodent. Have a good evening. The news team is out. The sports team will be here with live commentary with the game between France and Senegal. Enjoy.